just state your full name, please?
My full name is James Richard Puckett Jr., Puckett. I am the son of James Richard Puckett Sr.
Okay.
Okay.
But Puckett Brothers Manufacturing was very good for this community, Centerville. I know, I think it was like a family organization.
It was.
And I think you had annual barbecues?
Well, yes, we had, originally it was every 100 machines, okay? And then we got to building so many machines a year that we were having 3 to 4 barbecues a year. So then it became an annual event. And the guys would clean up their work areas, the welders, the machinists, whoever, painters. We'd clean it all up. They'd go home and get cleaned on a Friday. And then they'd bring their families back, and it was just a band, live band, and they could carry their families around to where their work areas. And I was told by several of them how that was really unique, that they could show their pride in their work to their families.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. It was just a family organization.
Oh, it was.
In more ways than one.
Right. Yeah, everyone that worked there we cared about. We would. People that grew up in this community would come for a job, and my dad would hire them, or some had retired from another one, and their retirement hadn't kicked in, or they need to supplement their income or anything, and my dad would always offer them a job.
That's great. Your father and his whole family were just salt of the earth, down to earth people.
Very much.
And just worked out well. Yeah. And of course, this company started off, in a barn, stayed in a barn.
No, he was proud of that, you know. And it had a funny thing because it said Puckett Brothers since 1933. And that meant that was when Otis was born. The youngest was Otis, and it was said, and people would say, "Oh, your company's been here since 1933." And my dad would say, "Well, that's when my youngest brother was born."
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I remember seeing that. Matter of fact, even looking through some pictures recently, saw that. And I kind of put it together, thought that's got to be when the last brother or one of
Otis, exactly.
came into play, people were born. But I never heard it, no one ever really told me that.
Yeah,
so
that's what
I'm glad you cleared that up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you cleared that
That's
up.
what that meant.
But of course, as this company began to grow, not only did it cover this nation, but also it went international.
It did.
It went international. I remember this was like in 1986. I'd worked a trade show in Parsippany, New Jersey.
Right.
And coming down, I think we just crossed over into Pennsylvania, and we weren't far from one of the large corporations or somebody out there, but I look up on this flatbed truck, and here's something that looked very familiar to me. And here I'm, 900 miles away from home. I'm not far away from Centerville.
Exactly.
And I look up on this truck, and we pull up alongside of it, and there's the big PB. It's a motor grader.
Exactly. Motor grader. Exactly.
And I'm thinking, I told the guy riding with me, I said, I know exactly where that thing came from. That came from my hometown.
Exactly. That's your hometown.
And it just can't use that warm, cozy feeling when you
Oh,
get
yeah.
that far away from home.
Oh, yeah.
And see something that means so much to you.
Exactly.
But not only, it crossed the ocean. I mean, y'all sent motor graders and power boxes into how many different countries?
Oh gosh, we were Japan. I remember in the late '70s, our exporter, we had an exporter out of New York, and they sold 100 motor graders to Malaysia, and they were used to grade the plantation roads. And it was funny; they'd have to drive them out every day and do their grading, and then they drive them back to the paddock where they kept them at night. And they drove these things, and then we sold it in Venezuela, Japan, I know, in Bahamas, Trinidad. I mean, it was equipment, South America. It was all over, and actually, we were one of the first companies to go into when China opened up in the 87 or 88. We were the first companies to go over there and move some equipment in there.
Iran.
Yes, Iran. But while the Shah was there, yes.
You sold to Iran.
We sold 3 machines. I believe it was 1977, and my father he actually flew on the Concorde over and went to Iran, and there was 3 machines delivered there then.
Nice.
So, it was pretty, for a little Centerville to make a mark on the international stage is pretty great to be a part of that.
Absolutely. I remember some of the locals around Centerville at the time talking about all the, you'd have promotional material. I mean, I guess from keychains,
Right.
whatever.
Key fobs.
Key fob, various.
Hats, yeah.
Yeah, and this stuff would wind up maybe in some third world country somewhere.
Right, right.
But they'd get some correspondence back. Somebody may
Exactly,
just
yeah.
write to Puckett Brothers
Exactly,
Manufacturing
because
Company.
it's
Back then it was Lithonia.
Exactly.
Or Route 1 Lithonia.
Route 1 Lithonia,
Maybe
exactly,
they
yeah.
were using the physical
Yeah.
address.
Right.
Lithonia.
Well, that's what our address was for a long time,
Right.
Route 1, Lithonia.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this company, which started off so simple, and never really got too big for its britches. Either.
No.
Never had.
And it's just amazing the innovation that little company produced in the entire industry is still used today. With that little motor grader and the vibratory plate compactor we built under license from a company out of Switzerland.
I'm going to ask you about that.
Yes.
Because I remember, as a matter of fact, at this facility, right now, we're filming right here today at Hope and Life Fellowship here in Centerville, which used to be Rock Bridge Baptist Church.
Exactly.
But back in the day when this church here, this building we're sitting in was being built, and this would have been, I don't know, this would have been maybe in the spring of 1983, they had a license from that company over in Switzerland.
Right.
And Richard, your dad, brought one up here because they were paving.
Right.
And the section of parking lot, or actually the road that goes behind the church, I mean, it was just a
Mud hole. Exactly.
muddy, lob. And he took that thing and packed it
Yeah.
and did an excellent job with it.
Yeah, it would actually pack a pound of mud hole dry. And being a plate compactor versus a roller that has a round drum that kneads up, it could actually work in wetter material, basically mud, and pack that dry. It was amazing what this thing would do, and people still use them. I've worn these things out and keep replacing the plates on them, and I'm in contact with several people who still have them.
Amazing. And your Uncle Otis, as you said, they didn't have a high school education. They certainly didn't have a degree of any kind of engineering, just common sense.
Right.
But eventually they did employ
Oh, yes.
people with degrees. They employed engineers who could put this together. And I remember, I guess, especially on maybe a motor grader, that each one had a computer. Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. It was part of its hub or something on each wheel, maybe.
That was a hydraulic motor, okay. But we did build for the computer on the grader. We built our own laser system and our own laser. The computer actually controlled the laser.
Okay.
We were early on in using digital when everything was still analog in the 80s, and we went over to digital and had an LCD display, a keypad, and Hall effect sensors, and these are now standards in that industry now.
Wow.
And we're the first ones to use that.
Y'all helped to initiate the standard.
Exactly.
But also too, I think these computers, and I think too, will keep like if you were working in a real muddy area, would prevent you from getting stuck because one might stop and hold while another would pull.
That was not a computer. That was actually a flow divider.
Okay.
A flow divider that did it hydraulically.
Okay.
And because in hydraulics, if anyone's ever had an experience with hydraulics and you just put the oil to it, hydraulics, just like a car that doesn't have limited slip, whenever the tire loses traction, it stops. Oil follows a path of least resistance. With a flow divider, it limits the amount of oil that wheel gets, or that hydraulic motor, and still delivers oil or power to the tires that have other traction, that has traction still.
And that was very innovative too.
That was very innovative. And plus, we were to go to a 5,000 PSI system, which was not done at that time. Growing up in it, it was just part of me. And then getting out and learning how innovative we were and still are. It's fun to me to still be out and people still remember our product.
Absolutely. something to be proud of.
Oh, it's very.
Something to be proud of.
Yeah.
And like I say, these guys, your dad, your uncle, the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you never, I mentioned earlier, never got too big for your britches. I mean, you never, it never went to your head.
No.
I mean, you got up every day, you went to work, you made all these changes.
Yeah.
You changed the lives for many, I mean, thousands of people, I guess.
That is just that in itself, Dan, is the thing that really hit me. Of how many people that my dad's little invention touched.
True.
That don't even know.
That's
How
right.
many people he employed down the road, put their kids through school, through college, bought houses, vacations, and all this because of that little machine.
Right, right. It's amazing. That's amazing. And, I mean, your family was a great family, and I look at Centerville as a whole. I mean, especially back in the day when you were growing up, I'm older than you by a few years, but that's the way people were here in Centerville. I mean, everybody was coming down to earth and work together.
I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
I just thought that's how everybody was.
And we found out once we lost what we had, hey, we really had a gold mine.
That was really special.
Really special.
It really is. I find that today. And I'm so grateful to have had that experience because you just don't find that in the world today.
No, it's a
Just
totally
so
different,
rare.
totally different society today.
It truly was. I didn't know. I mean, growing up like that, I didn't know. I just thought my father was just a regular guy,
Yeah.
And I remember in high school, there was an article that the Gwinnett Home Weekly wrote, and I was in 11th grade or something, and my teacher read this article, and I was embarrassed because I was like, I didn't know that was my father. I just thought he was just a normal guy. I knew he did things, but it was a lot of fun. So he was a very humble man. He never put on airs. I always heard you appreciate your parents the older you get. And,
Absolutely.
And I truly appreciate my upbringing.
And let's see, you had two sisters. You were the youngest
Right.
child.
Elaine's 11 years older than me, and Denise is 5 years older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember, as a matter of fact, that Elaine, your oldest sister, she was maybe a couple of classes, I guess, under me
Right.
in school.
Right.
Yeah.
And we all went to South. And, I actually went to the first year. The Centerville school was right here. My first grade
Okay.
was here. And then I went to the W.C. Brett my second grade.
And that probably was about 1968, was your first year, wasn't it?
I actually started when I was 5 because when my birthday is. So yeah, I was 68 or something.
Yeah, that's about the time they closed the school.
But this was my first grade year.
Okay.
And then I go to South and all my cousins and everything, so, they'd all, my sisters, everybody went, the same teachers were there every year.
And you had a good number of cousins too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
It's a right big family.
Right. Quite a few. Yeah.
And all hard workers.
Oh yeah. It's great to have grew up in the time I did and everything. I'm really, and I know I grew up around something special because even the people I go to school with, I still associate with a lot of people I go to school with and, graduated with. And there's something special about that group of people because we just, we're still in contact and we may not see each other or talk to each other, but whenever we see each other, we pick it up, right? Like it was just yesterday.
Absolutely.
And and I learned that's unique. You don't find that in a lot of communities. I don't know what it is about it.
And you go back, as they say, you come from good stock.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even your grandparents. I mean, I remember them growing up. I mean, they were always around in the community. I know they attended Zor,
Right.
United Methodist Church,
Yeah.
and your grandmother Dozette, and Mr.
Herschel. Right.
And just good, hardworking,
Yeah,
hardworking
exactly.
folks.
Yeah. Good farmers and, and just this community just had such a solid community
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
You know, the people that, they care about each other.
right.
And that's really, it's just so unique in today's world to find the solid foundation that I grew up with.
I was having lunch with, you know, Wayne Mason.
No, of course.
Had lunch with him this maybe a year ago, and we were talking much like you and I have been doing this afternoon. And I told him, I said, Wayne, I said, it's impossible for me to envision another place that could be equal to or, you know, Centerville. I mean, Centerville is, to me, the top of the line.
Oh, yeah.
When you're growing up, this is the place to be.
Well, Winston used to come visit me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, his dad
Yeah.
would come down to the machine shop because he, you know, that I'm not sure what Winston did, but it was something around machinery or mechanics or something, and he'd come down and I used to walk up and go fishing in the little lake behind their house, you know. And,
Yeah. Good times.
it was. I mean, it really is. And Wayne Mason and John D. Stevens and you know these guys are solid
right.
citizens.
That's right. That's right. They continue to be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, sir. Well, listen. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Certainly have enjoyed it.
Yeah, I have too. Walk down memory lane.
Absolutely.